Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here for another garage tour in GTA 5, and today, well, it's February's garage tour. The goal isn't to do these all the time, but I did one in early January, and, well, I've added a lot of cars to the garage since. So, here we are, we're going to start in the office garage. I'm going to take a look at each car we got here. First of all is the Jugular. This one here, I really do enjoy driving the Jugular. It's a overall good car for a lot of the racing, especially in tracks that are a little bit more, I don't know, you don't want to go all out speed. That there is a very, very good car. You want to have a little bit slower of a car, but still very quick at the same time. You go with the Jugular. Not the fastest, but still very, very good. Next here we have the Thrax. This is a, for me, it's okay. Not really a big fan of the Thrax, but it's a car I own. I got it from the wheel in the casino back in the first week of the wheel. Overall, okay, but nothing too wild. There. The RE7B, this is one of my more recent purchases, which you can actually see its debut racing in the race playlist later this week. This car here was one that I sort of wanted to get for a while. It was discounted recently, and I went in and purchased it, as I've been rebuying a lot of cars. This is one of them that I rebought. This here is the, what is this thing? Cyclone. This thing's got pretty good acceleration. Its handling's pretty bad, but acceleration is really cool. If you want to see this also in the race playlist, Lamine will be racing his version this week. I don't use mine in the video, but he will be racing his. Overall, acceleration-wise, it's pretty cool. Besides that, turning's not brilliant. Next is the Furia, the newest supercar in the game. I bought this the first week that it released. And I don't race it, but it is just one of those cars that I own and occasionally will drive around. Similar here to the XXR, car that I wanted for a while. Finally got around to buying it. Not brilliant at races either, but still is cool to have a entity, which is something I never really owned in the game. So we head up here to the next level of our office garage, to the next row of cars. We'll start over in this corner. We have the Hellfire. From watching the race list, you may know this is one of the more used cars that I have here. My most used muscle car. Very, very quick. Not the best at turning, but that's for most muscle cars, so it's one of my more favorite muscle cars. Here we have the Dominator GTX. It's cool. Not as good as the Hellfire in racing, but I prefer Mustangs for any muscle car. It's my favorite one, so this thing's really cool from that standpoint. Here we have the 8F Drafter. Not really big on Audis, so another one of those cars that I have. It was just kind of 1 week. It's kind of good for driving around the city, but in a race, won't really do anything for you. Next here is the Zentorno, one of my favorite supercars to race back in the day in GTA. Actually, along with the Adder, we'll do this two at the same time. Really, these were cars, like if you didn't own one of these way back in the day, 2013, 2014, older for the Adder, and then later on in 2014 for the Zentorno. If you don't own one of those two cars, I mean, who are you? So when you would see people pull up with a Zentorno or pull up with an Adder, you're like, oh shit, they got that bag. Now, most supercars are more expensive than both of these almost combined. But they're still very, very cool cars to have. When I was rebuying cars, I got it, and potentially in a race playlist coming up, we're looking at race playlist 100 as a special, like, throwback thing where these cars might get pulled out. Another car here is the Osiris. Osiris was the first, like, really expensive car to get released. The first car to get released over $1 million. I believe this car is 2.2 or 1. No, I think it's 1.9, and then the T20 is 2.2. Based here off the Huayra. This thing's really, really awesome. Um, yeah, it's, again, an older one, so it's not going to perform as well, but still really cool. Next here is the 811. One of the cheapest supercars you can buy for $1.1 million. Overall, it's pretty good for racing certain tracks. More high-speed tracks with minimal turning, this car definitely pops off on. We got one more set of stairs here in our garage, and we head to the third level. The third level up here, we have the Paragon R Armored. This thing here is one of the few weaponized cars that I do own. Pretty cool. Overall, it's kind of fast to drive around. Doesn't really take many hits, but it's still a cool car and cool to get free for doing things for the casino DLC. Continuing on with sort of the throwback car theme that we had with the Lantorno and the Adder. Throwback to the sports car class was this year the Masacro race car. The Jester and Masacro race cars were in their time back in 2014, 2015 when they were released. Super, super cool. The fastest ones, the best cars. If you had these, you were competing in races. And this here is also for Throwback Week, potentially. Next year, muscle car, we have the Duke of Death. This here is one of the cars you can get for free. Back, still now, but back in 2015, or no, back 2014, when PlayStation 4 and Xbox One editions, and I believe even PC editions came out, considered the next-gen version of the game. If you transferred an account, or transferred a character from PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, you would be able to get one of these cars for free. So, I got that once again, and upgraded it. I believe you still can buy it, but to get it for free, you can do that. So, I'm sure most people know that by now, but if you still happen to be playing on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, that is still a bonus that you can receive. Next here is the Sultan Classic. Combination of old Subaru Impreza and the Mitsubishi Evo. Personally, I like Subarus quite a lot. I've sort of grown up with those being the cars that my family's basically driven since 2005. So basically since I was 6, we've had Subarus, and I currently myself own a blue Impreza, so I got a blue Impreza here. Another Subaru here as well. This here's one of the Rally STIs, WRX, whatever one it is. I think it's a Rally STI, but they do both, I guess. I don't know. Impreza's WRX and STI are all similar. It's just Impreza's the base one. WRX is pretty quick, and then the STI is like wild. So maybe it's WRX because that's the rally car. So I don't know. Either way, this here's one of the old ones. The old Subaru rally cars are super, super awesome. And I had to get this car here, the GB200. Next here is the JB700W. One of the newer cars in GTA Online, but one of the oldest cars in GTA 5. Or in GTA General. Or, you know, this version, GTA 5. This thing here is from Story Mode initially. And, yeah, it's just sort of never got online because it was too overpowered back in the day, before there was weaponized cars everywhere. Now that there is, this thing here isn't really anything special, but it's still very cool to have. It is kind of lame that you have to buy a JB700W and then buy weapons for it, instead of just buying a JB700 and upgrading it to a JB700W. But either way, JB700W, really cool. And we also did a car profile on it, so if you want to see more details about that, I believe that went up last week or 2 weeks ago. A really cool car, and I recommend checking that out. Next here is the Flash GT. I knew the name, I don't know why I checked it. This here is based off a rally car of the Ford Fiesta. Now, I think Fiestas are kind of cool. Actually, I named one of our cats, Fiesta, after the Ford Fiesta. And that's why I have this car in the game, because I'm like, it's a Fiesta, I gotta have it. And it is colored black, because Fiesta is a black cat. So, that's very cool. Now, we can head out of this part of the garage and go to the next garage, because there are, of course, more cars that we have. We have multiple garages to go visit today. In this video, I have an idea that we may visit most garages that I have and see what's there. This here is the second garage that I have in the office. This is more of an overflow garage with sort of extra cars that I bought and do like to use occasionally, but maybe not use as much as the ones in the previous garage, or not nearly as much as the cars, especially one of them, in the casino penthouse garage. So first we're going to start with the Dubs, the 6x6, being a Mercedes. This here will, of course, be silver, as that's just kind of a thing of Mercedes, silver arrows. That's what we have there. This here is, what's this thing called? The Outlaw. This is one of the newest vehicles in the game, based off sort of one of those off-road adventuring through the woods vehicles. I don't really know what they're classified as, but this thing's pretty cool overall. Next we have the Pariah, one of the fastest, if not the fastest car in the game. Definitely in the sports class, this thing blows everything away. And yeah, it's just there for racing. I don't really like it. Next we have the what's this thing called? The Lynx. Now, the Lynx isn't that good of a car, but I just really, really wanted it for so long. Finally got to purchase it, and it's awesome to have. To drive and use in races, it's pretty bad, but just to own it is really cool. Next, we have our Hot Ring Saber. This thing is, well, for hot ring circuit races, basically. That's mostly what it is. I mean, it's cool. It's a NASCAR race car, but that's mostly what it's for. Next, we have the Slam Van. This year, back in 2014, 2015, was one of my favorite cars to use in GTA. Back, I think, even on Xbox 360 back in the day. When we used to point a camera at our TV to record. Yeah, this car, or this truck, is kind of just cool. It goes back to that. So we go up the stairs here to the next level. This is the final section of cars in this garage, and most of these cars are really just ones that I own for the hell of it. I don't really ever use these cars. First here is the Night Shark. It was free about a year ago. Got a bunch of them, and I still have one here. Next, we have the Kuruma, unmodified, because this is based off, or it's the newest Impreza, model-wise, in the game. Closest to my actual car. This is a Prairie, just so I can have a shitty car, basically. This here is the Rhapsody, another kind of shitty car, but I used to really, really like it back in the day. Here's just a basic Coquette. This here's one of the first cars that I actually liked in GTA 5. This is like the first one that I ever used before I even owned the game myself. When my brother had it when the game came out, when I went over to his house one time, played it online, and he had a purple one. This thing was so cool to drive. I loved it, and I just sort of rebought one recently. Another car that I thought was really cool when it came out was the Tampa. And that's why I still have it here. I rebought it again. Tampa's really cool. I had these colors on it back in about, I don't know if it came out 2015 or 2016, one of those festive surprise years it was released. Here at the time, the newest car, the Drift Yosemite. I've only used it like once, but I think it's got a spoiler on the truck bed. So yeah, that's that. We're going to head now to another garage. Here we are now in what I call the main garage. This here is the penthouse garage. These are the cars that I probably like to use the most, and these are my favorite cars that I own in the game. First here, we're going to start with the Tyrus. This here was one of my favorite stunt cars to use back when that Cunning Stunt DLC came out in 2016. This thing was super, super awesome to use for that. And of course, being a McLaren, I think it's pretty cool. Next here's the Taurus, based off the Lamborghini Urus. It's an SUV Lamborghini, so, well, I mean, what else do you really need? Next here is the XA21. It's really good for doing stunts like walls and tubes, those type of things. Wall rides and tubes and loops and all that stuff. So I use it for that most of the time. And yeah, I think it looks awesome as well. Next here is the Devastate, which I mostly own for racing. The car has grown on me a little bit. I definitely did not like it at all initially. Now I think it's a decent car. Next here is the Amaris, based off of McLaren Senna, which is just one of the coolest supercars. I saw this car for real back in 2018, and then once again in 2019. I saw actually one of the first ones that came to America back in 2018. Next here is the Krieger. This is my favorite car in the game at the moment, based off the Mercedes AMG 1, which uses the Mercedes AMG F1 car engine within the car. And I think that this thing is just super awesome. I love to race it, which I'm sure if you watch the race playlist, you will see this car quite frequently throughout that. It's just an awesome, awesome car to use. Next here is the T20, which, if you've watched any of my GTA videos from, well, 2015 to about 2019, this here was the car you would see in almost every single video that involved driving. One of my favorite cars still. I just love it so much. The McLaren P1, until recently, with the Mercedes AMG 1, the McLaren P1 was my favorite car. So, you see my two favorite cars in GTA based off my two favorite cars for real. Next over here we have the Sterling GT. We did a, actually a while ago, back in probably 2016 or 2017, car profile, and this is one of the original ones. So it's pretty cool if you want to check that out. See an old video. Being based off old Mercedes, I think it's pretty cool. I do like Mercedes cars quite a lot, along with McLarens. Also, other cars in here that did car profiles recently, actually, was the Krieger. And then we're getting to one that was in a car profile recently as well. This here's the Schlagen GT, based off one of the more recent Mercedes cars. This is the replacement for the SLS. I don't remember the exact name of that one, but I think it might just be the AMG GT was what this here car is based off of. Super awesome. And this here is the Tele GTO, one of the best sports cars to drive. I definitely prefer it over the Pariah. It's definitely slower than the Pariah, but for race-wise, this here is my go-to sports car. So let's go to another garage now. Here we are in our next location, and we only have a vehicle here in the arena. It's our Arena War car. It's the Nightmare Bruiser. This thing is super, super fun to drive around the city. Just push cars out of the way and boost into them and destroy a lot of things. So there's a Nightmare Bruiser. Recently, this was also in a car profile, so I recommend checking that out if you want to see some of the things with this car. So here we are as we continue our looking at vehicles, and we have this part of this building. I don't know what they are. It's special vehicles. That's what it is. We have our Technical Aqua, which I think is really cool, being based off of the truck that they used on Top Gear to get across the English Channel from England to France. being based off of that. Super, super cool. So you can get this truck in the water. Since I loved watching Top Gear, this car, or truck, is really cool, being similar to that. And then over here we have the Runner 2000, a car that I've really, really liked for so long. It was discounted a few weeks ago, and it's awesome to have. I just love that I can jump up and parachute off of things, and yeah. So overall, very, very cool vehicle there. So the next thing we're going to take a look at here is not the Terabyte itself, but within the Terabyte, there is, of course, the Oppressor Mach 2. Now, the Oppressor Mach 2 is, I don't know how I feel about the Oppressor. Definitely not one of my favorite vehicles in the game, but it is nice to have for fighting people within lobbies. Now, there are a couple vehicles that I won't be showing today that includes our whole list of Pegasus vehicles, and in here there's also some things like Mule, Speedo, and Pounder Custom from the nightclub, and the rest of the Pegasus vehicles, which, well, there's a reason why I'm not going to show them all, because it'll take forever to call them, but also, it's a massive list.
Hello, Pegasus Lifestyle
We got weaponized technicals, we got helicopters, planes, boats, monster trucks, these trucks, all this transportation, the globe thing, a Kraken, a blimp, festival, bus, party in my bus, like...
Call again. Goodbye.
We got a bunch of things, so we're not going to show that, but we still have a couple more places to go and look at a couple other vehicles. So, well, we'll see you with the next one. Next appears in our nightclub, we have two motorcycles. The Body 801 RR, which I have if I ever get stuck doing a god-awful motorcycle race. And also, the Gargoyle, which, if I had to say I like a motorcycle in this game, which I don't, it would probably still be this thing. So, there you go. Motorcycles. Here we are in the facility. Of course, there's our Avenger. It doesn't really count towards our vehicle list, but if you want to see that, it's there. We also have a mobile operations center in our bunker, which we won't be showing today. So in here we have a thruster jetpack, which is cool. Jetpacks are definitely cool in GTA San Andreas, when it was kind of like the only wild overpowered thing in the game, but nonetheless, the thruster is very cool. The other thing that I have in here is our Kinjali tank. Now, this thing is awesome. This thing destroys a lot of stuff, basically. Well, it's a tank. And also, recently I added the railgun cannon, so that's even more wild than normal. So this thing really does pop off. Here we are in the final part of garage looking. This here is going to be our first vehicle we take a look at. This here is the plane area. It's our hangar. And this is a Miljet. Holds 16 people. It absolutely is insane. Pretty fun to fly, if I'm honest. This here is our Cuban, which I believe you get free for owning a hangar. So, awesome. This here is the Volatus helicopter, which I think is one of the coolest helicopters in the game. I love using this to get around the city occasionally. Next up here is the Pyro, one of the most recent, my most recent edition indie here. Recently discounted as a Twitch Prime member. You get this here for a lot cheaper than you would normally, so I bought the Pyro there. Next here is the Nimbus. This is my favorite normal, like, not military plane to get around with. It's super just cool to fly. I think that and the Volatus came out together, and I wanted both of them. Also here is our Hydra, which is gold because why not flex? I think there may be one plane not shown here? Yes, we have a dodo, which I can't really lay out because this thing takes up so much space. The Miljet takes up like a very, very big portion of this garage. So that's that. That is our garage tour, hangar tour, building tour, whatever you're calling this video. Because I'm calling it a garage tour still. We showed off quite a lot of things today. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in the next one.